into it. So, ESL Open Americas Round of 16, PSISTORM and Flick of the Wrist, game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it rolling. Into the draft we go, and away with me. All right, first pick is going to go Flick of the Wrist, and they are on red side. So we're going to flip that over to them, and their first ban is going to be an Illidan. So no dealings with the melee today. The pseudo tanks, he's just a really powerful guy overall. Kael'thas is going to be the return ban from PSISTORM, so we don't want to deal with the Pyroblasts or the Phoenixes, especially on Cursed Hollow. So many narrow corridors, you can just do some really amazing things with living bombs, chain bombs, Phoenixes, all that jazz. So none of that. Jaina will be the first pick here from Flick of the Wrist. As we said, we like our lovely Ladies of the Storm, especially here in North America. Jaina is fantastic ice mage. She's going to do some really good work there. The flip side, Sylvanas was picked up, and PSISTORM is going to go with the Anubarak. It is too much to give up the Anubarak at this point. He is just too good when it comes to what he needs to do. He's the frontliner, brings a double stun, the Locust Nest as well. It's just a phenomenal kit. And those beetles, man, it's all about those beetles. Yeah. It's going to be a nice set of picks there from PSISTORM, and it is Cursed Hollow as well. Sylvanas as a front pick, it doesn't give anything away. You can still go really anywhere except for Kael'thas and Illidan with your comp, and at the same time, if you ever leave a Sylvanas to her own devices, you're going to find yourself minus a tower or two in some obscure lane. So it's a very strong pick there from PSISTORM. It's the beginnings of a great backline here for Flick of the Wrist, and to go with that, Jaina, looks like Brightwing was just picked. So they are going to go for the global presence. Probably, I want to say, bribe and promote. We'll have to see what the rest of the team is going to be. But going with the promote is a really good way, especially for split pushing these days. You got to fight top, you put the Brightwing in the bottom, you just push out the lane, promote, off you go with a phase shift. And good things will befall your team. Vala is going to go also into the back line here of Flick of the Wrist. And once more, the lovely Ladies of the Storm are still very much the North American meta, the North American represent. So now PSISTORM, what can they do? They've lost out 2 really good backliners, but they do got a Sylvanas. This is where we're likely to see a tank, perhaps not a support, because we already got Brightwing there on Flick of the Wrist. So they don't have to prioritize that really at all. PSISTORM really loves Tassadar, though, so they might actually go for a Tassadar in this round, or their healer this round, go for a Tassadar last pick. They could easily do that. We saw a lot of double tank comps out of Europe today, but I don't really see that a lot here in North America. So I fully expect to see either flex or damage coming out here. Zagara comes to mind, you know, with the Moz. Good lane duelist, good push, especially with an Anubarak. It's a very deadly kind of push lane, but it is actually going to be to support this round. They are going to solidify the Uther. So could we actually see a Thrall or a Kerrigan? Because they do got the Divine Shield possibility here. Thrall or Kerrigan for the engages. They got Sylvanas on the back, Divine Shield from the Uther, and then of course, I still suspect we're going to see a Tassadar sometime by the end of, I mean, it's PSISTORM Gaming. If you don't go for a Tassadar, you're just really disrespecting your brand. That could be a really nice way to end things here. But range damage is still predominantly chosen, and if they do want to put up some global pressure, PSISTORM could put in with Falstead. But, you know, Kotank, he's on the team with PSISTORM. He was casting with me earlier today. He is going to actually go with the Mirrodin pick. So it will be double tank for PSISTORM. Now, the Mirrodin that we saw today in the Gosu Cups was almost like an assassin Mirrodin. He locks up and he goes Thunderburn. He goes, give him the axe, and basically they just go Thunderclap. All 3 Thunderclap talents and give them the axe with an avatar. It was super effective, especially up against diving teams, because in a 1v1 scenario, I don't think you actually beat that Mirrodin, because he's doing so much extra damage. Stun Bolt, attack, Thunderclap, attack, and it's just ridiculous kind of damage that you come out of it. You try to run away, he just Goomba stomps on your face. So yeah, PSISTORM, I think, actually taking a little bit of a note out of Europe right there. So Flick of the Wrist, they need a tank. We have been seeing a lot of Tyraels these days, but a Tyrael solo tank, especially up against a double tank lineup like Anubarak and Mirrodin, I don't think it would work out very well. And it does look like it will be an ETC to go the way Flick of the Wrist. This is where they could go for a flex, a double tank of their own, or they could go triple assassin here. But what do we have in terms of range still available? As I said, Falstad still on the board. Vikings are nowhere to be seen, and it is Cursed Hollow. It's a very favored map for them. But they're nowhere to be seen as of yet. Nazebo's really fallen out of the favor. Raynor, we have been seeing a lot more Raynor in solo queues, but it might have just been because it was free week. But a Raynor as a little bit of a range DPS, crowd control, disengage kind of tool could go well. Bring back the Sergeant Hammer, bring back the Zagara. There's a lot of ranged options available, so it's either going to be another tank or I think a ranged DPS. If they went Kerrigan or Thrall here, I think Flick of the Wrist might be a little out of touch, at least in my eyes. But yeah, last picks. Just waiting for him to figure it out here on the Cursed Hollow for game number 1. What will Flick of the Wrist do? There will be no Gazlo. I can almost guarantee that. If they suspect there's a Tassadar coming, they might snipe it. That might actually go over well with their crew because they do got Vala Jaina. Jaina very likely to be a big target for a lot of these engages from Sidestorm. So the extra, utility to come out from a flex like a Tassadar, like a Tyrande could go a long way for Flick of the Wrist. But a lot of the times it is triple assassins, and I see more and more. And they got 10 seconds to figure it out. Time is ticking down. Flick of the Wrist, Falstad. It will be the range damage and get themselves double global pressure. And we'll have to see if that will work out for them. Now, the good news is that Vala can go auto attack, and so can the Falstad. Actually, the Falstad can even go mage, but level 13 is the big one there because both of them can get Giant Killer. And Giant Killer will just start shredding through the hit points of an Anubarak, of the Mirrodin, of that Uther. Uther is a fairly tanky support these days. So I highly suspect we're going to see Flick of the Wrist go for an auto attack Vala and double Giant Slayer or Giant Killer. I do apologize. Apparently I need to cough really badly there. And my mute button is not handy. Oh, the shame. So last pickup here from Psystorm. They see the triple assassin. I don't think this would go against their Tassadar philosophies that they're known for a little bit. But they're thinking about it. They're thinking about perhaps a little bit more damage. I mean, the Archon mode is really good. Sergeant Hammer, I don't think would do too much here, but it's not quite going to be the Tassadar flex. It will actually be the Tyrande flex. So the Tyrande as the last pickup here for Psystorm, and that will be your rosters for game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so Psystorm, Flick of the Wrist, here on Cursed Hollow. Not the biggest of damage comps from Psystorm. Definitely a lot more early game potential, I think, from Flick of the Wrist if they don't get caught. If Flick of the Wrist gets ganked out by a new Barack, speaking of ganks, this could easily be a roaming Uther with a Tyrande, a roaming Mirrodin with a Tyrande, a roaming Anubarak with Tyrande. They do have that big option of ganking some of the lanes with some of these squishies. With that Jaina, with that Vala, with that Falstad, because when you lock them down with enough stuns, it doesn't really matter too much what's about to happen to them because they're going to be locked down and they won't be able to really move out of that. Everybody just left my game, and I don't know why. And now they're coming back. Weird. Either way, so we might see some roaming here from Psystorm, especially making use of that Tyrande to go for the initiations. I have no idea what the teams are doing, but we're 20 minutes past start time, and all we have done is the draft. So I guess they're going to just take a few more minutes here. Now they're all coming back. I don't know. Weird. Either way, Flick of the Wrist, if they can manage to avoid getting out ganked, I think that they're going to have a little bit better earlier time looking for some of these tributes, and they keep just leaving. What is going on? ETC should be able to solo a lane. Who to put in the other lane? Falstad or Brightwing, I think, would be in the other. But Brightwing's the only support here for Flick, so it's likely to be a Falstad or a Vala, and then the rest will be dogpiled into the bottom lane, as we do like to do. What is going on with these guys? They all join and then they all leave. I have absolutely no idea what's up with them, if they're disconnecting or whatever. But it could be a very quick game 1 if they don't even go past the screen. But whenever, we'll get to it. So either way, place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. The winner for this will, of course, get a 1-0 in the best of 3. And we will be going all the way through that best of 3. And, oh, there we go. We are apparently going to get this one rolling. So that's always fun to see. Still, I mean, it's all about laying down the cards. It's not the end-all if you lose here, but it is definitely a really good momentum swing going into the next game of the best of 3. And Cursed Hollow, I mean, it's a fairly standard map. It doesn't really feel like either of these are prepared strategies. A lot of picking, counter-picking going on, which is good. The double global presence of Flick of the Wrist should do them very well. But at the same time, PSISTORM has a heck of a lot of CC available to them. So if they use that to their early game advantage, it could be over very quickly. And I think that's enough of this screen. We are just going to wait for the rest of the teams here. As we'll bring up the game. There it is. Momentarily, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get game number 1 of this set rolling. Cursed Hollow as our map, and Kael'thas Illidan's as the band. You're probably going to see a lot of Illidan, a lot of Kael'thas band out tonight. I'm not going to lie. You're very likely to see that. Ready to start? We are good, sirs, and we're going to get this one rolling now. So prepare your butts, ladies and gentlemen. 24 minutes after start. I already said yes. Jeez. So polite, these teams. So polite. Just making sure. But yeah, best of luck to PSISTORM. Best of luck, Flick of the Wrist. You guys have definitely earned top 16 here. Let's see if you can turn top 8 by the end of this match. 60 viewers. Holy jeez. You guys are awesome. And yeah, it's just going to be me solo today. So take it as you leave it. Even with the Suns, PSISTORM already lost. Wow, big prediction coming out of chat right there. That's a bold statement, my friends, but we'll have to see if you're correct, because it's very well possible that you are. Here it is, though. PSISTORM and Flick of the Wrist, game 1, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this rolling. Thank God I actually installed the Ally interface a little bit earlier today. Yeah. The Karate Kid going to be representing PSISTORM here on blue with Chryslo, Lucio, Vital, Kotank, and yeah, that will be their team. They are split up looking for their lanes, but on the flip side, Flick of the Wrist, not a team I've had the pleasure of casting, but interested to see what they bring to it. Radluck, Talls, Schooled, E-Dubs, wub, 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 and Shales. And the splits are a little curious already, because we got Brightwing heading top and Falset into the bottom. We got a 3-man collapse here from Flick into the mid. We'll have to see what they want to do with that. Now, the splits are, it does look like it's going to be a Wandering Mirrodin, Tyrande, because we got Karate Kid into the top. We did have Kotank actually heading into the bottom area, and it looks like he will not be found by that Allen because that's on his team. But yeah, Anubarak and Falstead bottom. It does look like Uther is going to hold down mid, and it will be the roaming flex of the Mirrodin Tyrande. Now, if they can get the stuns, it's stuns on stuns with a lot of damage heaped on top of it, and they're going to go here for Radluck. Storm, stun, and here it goes, and that is just a lot of damage. The last Q is enough. Karate Kid takes home the kill, and Lucio will live to see another day. Now we have an entire 3-man roam up into this top area. Karate Kid is actually going to get really just red right there. Talls is there for the kill. One more, and they get it, but so Brightwing came back into this as well with the phase shift and went down very quickly, taking out the towers as well as that Mirrodin. We had Vital also now up into this top lane as well. So nobody is down in mid. It is a ridiculous early game start already, but 2 kills to 1. We have now defended out a little bit of honor here from Flick of the Wrist, and everyone is going to kind of settle back into other lanes. But, you know, this top, it's not going to stay there. Karate Kid's now coming back, and you're going to see this flex roam. Is Tall's going to try to just match him with that roam? Oh, he's going to face check into the bush. Now it's a 3-on-1. Stuns and stuns, but that last flare is just not going to hit the mark, and he will actually live through that ordeal. But still, he's really hurt, has to now just kind of sit there with that Brightwing. But at the same time, you see now here, stuns and stuns, this early game potential, this early flex and rotation synergy coming out from PSISTORM has netted them now 3 kills in 2 minutes. Does the ally look like a U? I'm not sure I can actually do anything about that. Flick in this font is unfortunate, but c'est la vie. I'm sorry, guys, if it looks weird. Just full screen it, I swear. Schooled E-dubs are now going to be here mid, but once more, you got the Mirrodin going in. There's the stun and stun, but there's just not any kind of range damage to back up on that E-dubs, and we should be having that tribute now spawning in the next 15 seconds. Top lane is already on the move. Talls has not really been able to regen those hit points, not between his guitar hero and that Brightwing, but again, stuns, body blocks now coming into it as well, and the triple slam is enough not only for one kill. Could they go for the second? It won't be enough. E-dubs there with his multi-shot build, not giant killer, is enough just to keep them at bay. But there's that tribute. It's into the bottom lane, and this is where Kotank and Shales have been very patient in their exchanges. Kotank, oh my, really waiting to the end there. He does have a sippy cup ready to go, but at the same time, he's going to need a heal either from Cryslo or from that Uther. Uther not coming down. In fact, it's going to be a Lucio now just playing interference, but it's going to be the Falstead to interrupt that, and now it's just all for naught. Here comes Vital, though. Sylvanas still top. Nobody into that top lane, so it is the 5-man collapse from Flick of the Wrist. They're looking for Cryslo, and Falstead just can't quite grab it. In fact, Kotank nearly taking down the bird by himself, but it will be, in fact, a Nubarak dropping first anyways. Shale's skin of his teeth, but he lived and he made it. Problem is, they've left Karate Kid to his own devices top, and now he's already taken one tower and working away on the next. You can see the experience lead, now level 7 to just over 6.5 for Flick of the Wrist. That is not the position that they want to be in. Yes, they got the tribute, but they paid for it with a permanent objective of that tower. Shale's flying all the way up to the top will actually keep Karate Kid at bay, but if he goes too much farther out, we actually could see E-dubs and Schooled come in for this gank, and I think Karate Kid knows that. He says they're not on the map. He knows his limitations. He's not going to show himself until he sees somebody, and E-dub shows, he shows, and Schooled had already left that brush. If he hadn't, it might have actually been that gank potential, but it's just not going to be near enough, and we're basically just playing around in this top lane. In fact, now you can see crit searing attacks coming out, and the searing plus Jaina is enough to actually get a counter turret as well. We haven't talked about the bottom lane, but Kotank right now is the pure beetles. Assault Scarab, Legion of Beetles, Leeching Scarabs. This is a pretty hefty build for split pushing by himself, and he's doing that nicely. Apparently, Falstead was the big kill up top because of Lucio, Karate Kid, and Cryslo was there, but the tribute was bottom. If Kotank doesn't get interrupted, that is going to be a heck of a swing for PSISTORM, but unfortunately, he will not have the map presence or pressure to do this, and Talls will take that second tribute into his pocket. Now, that's going to be a very unfortunate body blocking position for Vital. He's going to drop, but he's going to turn right back around with the rest of the team, heal them through with the Ghost Farm. And Kotank going in. They're looking for Radlac. He's gusty healing. He's going to be healing himself back up. Karate Kid now has this Falstead to deal with that lightning, and it's actually going to be the Sylvanas dropping. Kotank now on the retreat. Lucio and Crystal joining him there, and all of a sudden, we're looking a little bit stronger here for Flick of the Wrist. 2 tributes, and they got themselves 2 kills out of that, bringing them almost up to parity for this experience. And I got to sneeze. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Shale's now going to be heading back top. Level 9 apiece. We're still got about a half level after getting some of this extra soak for PSISTORM, which means that their heroics are going to be coming out more or less at the same time as the next tribute. This is where we got to crunch soak right now. We got to get as much experience as possible for Flick of the Wrist, or they're going to have to give up that tribute. It's not the end of the world if they give it up, however, because they do already have 2 in their pocket. This is not a curse against them, but if they are not confident about this, just keep soaking and spreading, contest the next one. Perhaps even push with these bruisers that you've now acquired into the bottom. Or sorry, into the mid. Is Talls taking stage dive? He's not moving. He totally has that stage dive, but it will be enough to actually bring this to a close. Stage diving now on top of Cryslo, but he moves out of it, and it's going to be Schooled now into the back. He's a big focus target. The laser goes out and hits nobody, but the Tyrande into the back now has to deal with Shales. Talls is still in the midst of things, but he's getting CC'd and just body blocked down. The water elemental in a prime position right there, and now no longer is it the offensive of Flick of the Wrist. It is now the defensive and retreat, because all of a sudden 4 of them are dead, and E-dubs is going to drop as well. That is a team wipe and level 11 plus the first tribute now going over to PSISTORM. A heck of a fight. Most of it starting right here. I mean, the stage dive missed, the laser missed, but all of it was right here. We had the body blocks, we had the water elemental, we had just so much good karma right there for PSISTORM. And they just split back out and they keep getting soaked. They could actually get 13 if they hustle before this next tribute, and they might have a heck of an advantage going into it. So what else is going on? We got Karate Kid and Vital. They're going to pick up some of these Stone Bros. That'll be starting to march down top. Instead of looking for fights, we're going to be pushing out. Nobody's on the map, so flick of the wrist, take some towers there in the mid. All right, you can't actually escape out of this. Pick him. Yeah, great. There we go. Awesome. Level 12 and a bit, so it's not quite going to be 13 there for PSISTORM. They're just not, there's nobody soaking the top, and I think that might be a pretty big deficit that they're missing. But the bottom lane, they have, actually, if you think about it, Flick of the Wrist has triple global presence. Not only do they got Talls with the stage dive, but they got the Brightwing and the Fly from Falstead. Even with that, they're still behind in this experience, and this tribute is now top. This is the second one top, which means that the Curse one is going to be into the bottom lane, and both teams should know that. As they go into this one. Positioning is here. Here comes the Brightwing. He will be joining his team. You're going to be looking for the stage dive. There it is. It will interrupt, but the laser actually connects on 3 targets this time on top of PSISTORM. The Vala with the stuns puts it on top of Anubarak, who gets the invulnerable shield of Divine Storm. Still throwing hammers over the edge. Schooled and E-Dubs are really trying to work away on these tanks, but it's going to be the Jaina who's just too far forward to drop first. Talls is going to get that kill on top of Kotank, but Vital might be able to take down the Battle Cow, but the blink heals are good. Brightwing keeping his team up, and they trade it out, but there goes the Battle Cow, and now Shales could not repel that order of magnitude of damage, and Radlock will be the sole survivor this round. It was a 4-for-2 exchange, but this is into the pocket of PSISTORM, and the next Curse tribute will be bottom with that level 13 advantage going for PSISTORM. Jeez, I cannot stop coughing. I'm going to position my mouse over there so that I can actually hit that mute button for you guys. I don't know why I'm coughing so much. I do apologize. So, level 13 in just under 10 minutes. Boss is now going to be on the menu here for PSISTORM. Let's take a quick look at some of these talents. Level 13, the Burning Rage and the Web Blast, the Web Wrap coming out from Anubarak. It's not Beetles. I don't think I've actually seen a Cocoon target, but yeah, you can call me on that one if you really want, because I haven't actually been expecting to find it. Boss is going down. Spell Shield for the Mirrodin at level 13. You know, I talked a little bit about the EU Mirrodins we saw today. This is totally not it. This is definitely a more tanky Mirrodin with the Thunderburn, has the Piercing Bolt, and now with that Spell Shield to boot. He really just wants to make sure he can be up in the mix of things. Level 13 with the Shrink Ray. Not entirely too sure what the intended target will be, but it will be anybody and everybody that we can get our hands onto. The 5-man push mid is actually going to equalize out some of these towers, but it's not going to be a talent advantage for PSISTORM going into this next tribute. It is going to be 13 both sides. We do not actually have the Giant Killer at level 13 for Vala. It is going to be the Frost Shot. Here goes the laser. Spending a laser to stop a Lucio is a little bit of an expensive way to do it, ladies and gentlemen, but they did it. There's the Web Blast as well. It's keeping someone down. Already, Vala is going to be out, but Kotank is going to drop on that Anubarak as well. Stuns on top of Schooled, and there's no Jaina, no Water Elemental, and the ETC is going to go the way of the Dodo as well. Lucio jumping in, looking for the Stormbolt. They're going to try for the blood on top of Brightwing, but the timer is just not there, but they will reward themselves with a curse and a 3-for-1 exchange. 17 kills to 8, and there goes the curse at 11.5 minutes in. Now, we did have a boss into this bottom lane. Remember as well, it did do a good amount of work on these towers, which were surprisingly still healthy. But now that the curse is out, we're going to be looking to solidify some of these forts. The entire team of PSISTORM into the bottom lane. Kotank is now going to be respawning. He's likely to be starting to push out mid or top. And if we only get one fort for a curse this late into the game, you're not getting yourself a huge amount, especially because there's still 2 in the bank here for Flick of the Wrist. All they got to do is win this next engagement, and they can easily start pushing back as much or more damage. But we do got the rotations. Kotank meets the mid, and it will be the second fort. Stun and looking for the rest. Not going to find it on top of Shales. He uses the barrel roll to get to safety, and that will be that But still clearing out 2 forts, still 17 seconds on the curse. I don't think we have the timing for a boss, but we might have the timing for bruisers. Falstead trying to throw out a little bit of damage, but nope, they're just going to turn right back around. Perma-CC him out. The stun with that Rain of Vengeance, not quite enough to connect, but the Water Elemental was good, and now it is down. Looking to start on some of these towers because Sylvanas is just good like that, but we're not going to take it lying down. In goes Talls with that ETC, but he gets stunned, and he is down. Web Blast on top of E-Dubs. We got to break through this wall, and we got to go grab him as quick as they can, and it's going to be an Envenom, and there's the stun, but it's not quite enough to take him home. We do have 16 talents, and you might have actually guessed Shooting Star from that Tyrande. That hit a heck of a lot of damage on top of that Vala, but it wasn't quite enough for that kill. Now, however, they can go in for these bruisers. They can go in for this boss, I feel, as well. We've got 10 seconds on ETC, and multiple of those ults are down. But it looks like they're going to play it safe. They're going to take the bruisers and back. Probably even take the second set of bruisers. But they also got to be thinking about the fact that there's going to be another tribute sometime in the next 60 to 90 seconds. So they don't want to overcommit. They don't want to really show their hand. They're going to take it safe and steady. With those bruisers pushing in mid, that's pressure on top of this keep. But at the same time, they're also now getting more merc camps with these giants. I fully suspect we're going to see these bruisers, and then that should be about the timing for a tribute, I want to say. But as I say that, you know, why not take a boss? There's no one up here. There doesn't seem to be anybody actually making their way up here either. So this could be a very sneaky boss because it does not look like Fickle the Wrist has even considered that the boss could be the big takedown. They have no way to gain information rather than just face checking it, and it's starting to lose its hit points very quickly. Shales and Radlag in the mid, they're still showing no signs of this, and either we're giving it up or they just don't know about it. And Flick of the Wrist, it looks like they will lose out their boss. The silver lining here is that they have their 16 talents, so they're at least on even talent tiers, and we should be having that tribute coming up basically momentarily. What do we get at 16? Northern Exposure, so it's the vulnerability. Critterize, vulnerability. We do take Imposing Presence for the ETC, which is going to be really good, but he's going to get CC'd down. I'm kind of curious if Stoneskin wouldn't have been a better choice there, but we got the Mercs pushing down. We got the team pushing down. Here comes the tribute. It's into the top as well. Perfect positioning here for PSISTORM because not only is this gate down, the rest of Flick of the Wrist has to deal with this push. And, you know, we're not even letting up. PSISTORM is just saying, we don't need to go anywhere. We got all the push in the world. In fact, they might leverage this for a win. Who needs a tribute? But here goes the laser. It does land on a few team members. We had the stage dive, but there goes the ETC. The invulnerability shield with the Divine, keeping Kotank up. Vala is going to drop, but they pay for it with Sylvanas, and there goes the Falstead as well. It must be Jaina once more in that web wrap, and are we going to look for that stun? We are. She sprints out, and there's not enough CC chain to finish it. But I think, speaking of finishing it, this will be game number 1. A fantastic early game leverage into a curse and now into a good fight. This core down 40% and dropping with those mercs, with the rest of the PSISTORM on this core. That is going to be GG, and that is going to be game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, going the way of PSISTORM here for your ESL NA Open League round of 16. Phenomenal play. I just got to say, the double tank with all the CC in the world really did leverage with the roam and the flex. A lot of kills, which gave him a lot of map positioning. And even though PSISTORM lost out the first 2 tributes, they were able to come back and basically reverse all kill, all 3 of them. They took all the fights past that. They never really let up their pressure. And here on Cursed Hollow, their CC-centric team comp really did come out and shine. Jaina got repeatedly thrown down into a Web Blast. So she had very much reduced effectiveness, and in the heat of the moment, you don't really see the Web Blast. You really got to call it out for your team. There wasn't a heck of a lot of focus on top of it. So Jaina wasn't really too much of a factor in a lot of those team fights. She dropped rather quickly in a lot of them. Looking at her damage, 29,000 hero damage. She still came out number 2 on her team, but E-Dub's far surpassing her with 37 by the end of it all. Healing numbers were pretty comparable. Sylvanas actually coming out ahead in general at 38k, but still, with that much control in a lot of these fights, I mean, you can't really allow your opponents to get a repeat draft like that. It just will not do you any wonders. So that is going to be game number 1 now in the bag. PSISTORM and Flick of the Wrist. PSISTORM goes up 1-0 in this best of 3. Congratulations to them. We'll have to see if they can leverage this to a 2-0 when we return, as we're going to be setting up the next lobby. So, guys, without further ado, enjoy some trailers, and I'll be in the chat, and we'll see you guys on the other side of the break.